Positive Anime Reviews is a review show that is designed for people who aren't very picky about their anime, like me. Most anime I watch ends up in my 5 out of 5 category. My reviews are for those people who are looking for a reason to watch anime rather than hate on it. I am willing to give any and all anime a chance before stating my opinion. Lastly, my reviews are all my opinion and might and or most likely won't match yours. If you don't agree, that's totally fine. Just be respectful in the comments section. Thank you. And as always, possible spoiler warning ahead. Hey guys, Darth Clark here, back with another positive anime review. Today we will be talking about In Another World with my smartphone. So, yes, this is another Isekai anime, so if you are, religiously against that type of thing, I would advise you to run now before I pollute you with my positive message. If you're still here, then congratulations. You are more open-minded than some other anime reviewers that I have seen, and I advise you to stick around because it's a good time and it's going to be a good review. I mean, hopefully the review's good. The anime was good. So, before we, let's go ahead and break up into why. So, first of all, happy Sunday. Hope you guys are having a fantastic weekend. This is normally not a day, of course, when I record. However, I was supposed to make this review on Saturday, but I got busy, and then lots of other things happened, and I just got really busy. So, I am squeezing this in at the tail end of Sunday, so that way on Monday, the rest of this week, we can have normal videos. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word videos. Our episodes and our parts can be all normal this next week. At least that's the goal. So, but if nothing else, at least Mondays can, because if I don't do this today, then that means I have to do it tomorrow. And if I do it tomorrow, that means we can't do a Lollipop Chainsaw Part 2. So, and I would like to do that. So, here we are. Anyway, let me go ahead and hop back over to our little cheat sheet here. So, this anime aired in the summer 2017 season, so it's not that old. The last few anime I've watched have been on the older side of things, and this is not one of them. This is on the newer side of things, so that's pretty cool. Now, and again, I have nothing against older anime, but, Anyway, so, as far as is there a dub, I actually don't know if there's a dub. I assume there probably is, and I'm gonna be honest, this anime is licensed by Funimation, and so if Funimation seems to be incredibly... they seem to usually have dubs, so I'm assuming it probably does. If it does, I can't tell you if it's good or not because I didn't look it up because, I watch sub. If you watch dub, of course, I hold nothing against you, but it's just not my taste. Anyway, so, as far as is this an adaptation from a manga, this is an adaptation from a light novel, and gonna be honest, I'm still a manga noob. I'm still kind of dipping my toes in the water trying to explore the manga world, and so I'm not positive what the difference between manga and light novel is. Someone who knows more is more than welcome to tell me, but I, off the top of my head, don't know the difference. But this is an adaptation from a light novel. Now... But yeah, so this is an adaptation from a light novel. So, of course, our next step will be hopping into the synopsis, the most accurate way to sum anything up, because it's better than listening to me attempt to explain it. Anyway, in a thoughtless blunder, God accidentally strikes down Toya, again, Japanese names, really sorry if I crush or destroy any of these. It's, on top of that, I can barely speak English fluently, so, it's, any other language is going to be rough. Anyway, Toa Mochizuki with a... Let me go ahead and start that over. In a thoughtless blunder, God accidentally strikes down Toya Mochizuki with a stray bolt of lightning. As an apology, God offers him one wish and a chance to live again in a magical fantasy world. Toya happily accepts the offer, and for his one wish, he asks only to keep his smartphone with him as he begins his journey into this mysterious world. Starting over in this new world, Toya finds it filled with magic, which he has an affinity for, and cute girls vying for his attention. These girls, the twins... and again, these names are going to be rough. Lindsay, because it's like Linze. So it's like, what is that like? It's like Lindsay, but like less Lindsay and more like Lindsay. I don't know, Lindsay. And then again, Elsa. It's like Elze. So I don't know. It's like Elsa? I don't know. So there's these twins whose names I can't pronounce. There is Yumina with a long name that I'm not going to pronounce. There is Leen. That's all her name is, Leen. And, oh man, it's Y-A-E. Is that, they kind of said it like yay, but like, not like, Y-A, like, Y-A-Y, or like, Y-E-A. Like, it's like, yay verily. So, it's like, yay, I guess. I don't know. I'm so sorry. Provide Toya with no end of romantic frustrations, but also companionship as he discovers the secrets of this new world. So, of course, despite the fact that all of their names is hard for me to get through other than like 2 of them, most of their names are really rough for my poor stutter. However, you probably picked up on the fact that those actually were supposed to be names, and those names are obviously all of the love interests. So yes, this is a Isekai Harem Anime. So again, if you're running for the hills at this point because you're closed-minded, then please do so, because we are only open-minded here, right, team? And yes, this is a Harem Isekai anime along with other things. But yeah, so good to be honest. Going right into it. So obviously, I watch a large variety of anime. I watch, all kinds of genres, everything from romance to action to horror to adventure to harem to ecchi to comedy to all kinds of stuff. Now, admittedly, some of those I watch more than others. However, I am open to any anime, pretty much. Despite whatever reputation it might have, because in my experience, never ever pay attention to an anime's reputation. Always just watch it for yourself and then make your own opinion. All right, just use reputation to help guide you a little bit, with a grain of salt, just a little bit. Anyway, now, of course, I've heard mentioned about this anime, like Isekai, Harem. I'm like, get in line, but that doesn't mean I dislike him, because honestly, I like Isekai anime. I like it a lot. I think it's fun, and the premise has yet to get old for me, so here we are. Now, the reason that I looked this up in... that I watched this anime to begin with, is because it's a little irritating sometimes when you watch whether it's isekai or not, you watch a harem anime. Now, of course, the most common trope, I guess, in any isekai or any harem anime is the fact that, of course, there is one dude and a whole bunch of women. Okay, well, the problem is it's often very common for that one dude to either be very open-ended, and so he doesn't choose anyone, or he chooses one person, and the rest of them get all hurt because they just got rejected. Okay, so what I've always wanted is, I'm like, all right, look, maybe I'm in the freakish minority here, but I always want the main person. I was like, why can't you just try and choose all of them? Is there any... Surely there is a harem anime where he gets them all, right? Is that too much to ask? Because often, I mean, not always. Now, sometimes, a few of the girls will be annoying, but often they're all likable. So if they're all likable, you don't want anybody to be disappointed. How could none of them be disappointed? As if the main dude gets with all of them and they're all in on it and they're all happy about it. Wouldn't that be best case scenario? Anyway, and the point is, if they all love each other, then what difference does it make? So the point is, I always wanted one. Okay, so I was looking up a list of harem anime that supposedly end with the dude actually getting a harem. That was the goal. So this name came up, and so I watched it. Now, whether or not it sticks to that will be what you guys find out as far as the review goes on. But suffice it to say, that was the reason I looked this thing up to begin with, because before then, this was just one name on a list of 1,000 names of anime that I need to watch. So but that was the reason that I was drawn to it, in all honesty. So, moving on to our rating section, which is how clean or dirty is the anime. Now, the site that I am looking at gives this a PG-13, and that's kind of a toss-up. It's either a little bit of an on the edgier side of a PG-13, or it's a super soft R. It's probably an edgy PG-13, so that's probably what I would say. I would say it's an edgy PG-13. So there is a fair amount of ecchi scenes. Now, keeping in mind here that even still, despite the ecchi, it's still... It feels different than some other ecchi anime, and sometimes the ecchi is done in whether in this anime, but in lots of other anime where it's just you just kind of roll your eyes a little bit. You're like, yeah, whatever, seen it a million times. It's just part of the genre for you at this point. Now, that same stuff happened a lot in here too, but it didn't feel as ridiculous. Maybe it didn't feel quite as ridiculous as it has in some other harem anime. Even if ecchi ridiculousness was happening, it didn't quite bother me as it does, and it doesn't bother me at all. Pretty much the worst it does is kind of an eye roll. You're like, come on, man, you can have this genre doesn't have to be all this. Like, we could get more. There could be more emotional development. You know what I mean? Like, so the worst it makes me do is eye roll, but I watch it anyway. But I'm just saying that sometimes it would be nice. So this one did a lot of the same tropes, of course, like, you know, walking in while they're changing, etc., etc. But it wasn't quite as annoying as sometimes it can be. Now, sometimes it's annoying because of course, you've seen it. Sometimes it's not that bad. So as far as similar anime is concerned, you know, get in line. There's like a million Isekai anime. There's a million harem anime. Now, there is some things that make this one different, which we will get to. But if you're just looking for Isekai, there's a million of them. If you're just looking for harem, there's a million of them too. If you're just looking for ecchi anime, hey, no judgment, and there's a million of them as well. So, you know, but it didn't super stand out over any other Isekai that he goes to a fantasy world, so, you know. Anyway, so as far as moving into our genre, you know, what genre is this thing? It is adventure, harem, comedy, romance, magic, and fantasy. Now, it does say comedy, and there was comedy in it, but maybe that was part of it. Is there was enough seriousness that there was, like, I don't know. It's not like seriousness, because it was all very lighthearted, like 9 times out of 10. So maybe it was comedy, but it didn't still lack for development as far as like relationships are concerned. It was all very lighthearted, and it was all pretty comedic a lot, like, you know, a lot of the time. But there was still development despite the comedy, and hats off to them, because that is a fine line to be walking. A lot of the time you'll watch it and there'll be comedy, and then there'll suddenly be development, and it's really hard for me, and maybe I'm in the minority, but it's hard for me to sometimes see past the comedy to see what's serious about the show, or see any real character development. And sometimes it bothers me when it's just comedy, seriousness, and we're suddenly supposed to snap out of the comedy and pay attention to what's serious. Because I am not hugely into comedy anime in general. If it's comedy, I tend to avoid it more than if it was like a serious version of all the same stuff. If it's a comedy romance, or if it's a serious romance, I'll watch the serious romance over the comedy romance any day of the week, because that's just how I'm wired. I don't know. Anyway, so moving on to season length, which is, of course, how long is the season? It is one season at 12 episodes, so, you know, exactly what you'd expect. Episode length, again, exactly what you'd expect at 24 minutes. Now, this is one of those anime that does not have anything after the closing song. So when the song's over, you can leave. I'm almost positive. If you doubt, or if my memory's wrong, you're more than welcome to willing to check. But if you reach the end of your episode and the closing song starts, and you look at the time, and if it says like 1 minute 30 seconds left, you can leave. There's nothing afterward. Just, you know, as a rule of thumb. However, if you're invested, I do recommend checking it just in case, so make sure you don't miss anything that you love. But in this one, I am almost positive there is nothing after the closing song. So, moving into our character list, the character list for this one is kind of beefy. It's not too bad, but it's on the beefier side of things. Now, of course, we will be hitting the main characters and any pertinent characters that I mentioned, but full disclosure, we're going to hit the main dude, and then we're going to hit his main cast of, you know, main females. So, that of all the ladies that front this anime, and so of course we'll be hitting them, and then of course the dude. So, you know, I mean, you know, anyone that's pertinent, all the main characters, they're the ones that are going to be hit. Big surprise there. So moving on to our first main character, we have Toa Mochizuki. Toya. So Toya is of course the main dude. Now, he's a very easygoing guy in general. There are a lot of really crazy things happen to him, and he's a very chill. Now, he's of course the dude. He's probably wearing a white coat, and he has like the darker hair. Maybe it's black, colorblind, couldn't tell you. It could be darker blue, but you know, sometimes it's hard to tell. But regardless, though, he's in the white coat. He's the main guy. Odds are he'll be the only male you can see for miles, so that's fine. And he's very easygoing. A lot of crazy things happen. His world is really not rocked. And now, I did like that other characters do mention that how chill this dude is, and I liked that as well. And I like that they mentioned it, because if he's too easygoing and no one says anything, and then so sometimes it kind of plays off as like they're just not paying attention. But some characters mentioned how chill he was, and that was kind of nice. But he was very chill. He died, and you know what I mean? Like, he moved on to another world, and he really was never floored. He was never troubled by any of that. And so I was like, hey, you know, props to you, I guess. Anyway, and so now, as far as other parts about him, he's dense, like any other main character of a harem anime, like 9 times out of 10. Of course, he's very like, I don't get it. You know, when like if some girl would say something like they accidentally confess their love to him, it goes right over his head. No surprise there. And of course, everyone's like they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he doesn't get it, and he's the only one in the dark about the whole love thing. Yeah, that was one of those. So he is very oblivious, and that was one part that was a little annoying. It would have been more annoying if it wasn't so common, but because it was so common, it really didn't floor me that bad, because I'm like, get in line. I prefer it when they're aware and they're not dumb and they're not blind, but you know, it's so common that at this point you would do yourself a favor, don't get upset by it, because you're gonna see it about a trillion times. And so, you know, it's more of the same in that regard. Now, as far as the person he's a very kind person. He is very caring and like loving to his main cast of friends, and you know, and he did have some like mature moments when there was like development like closer to the end, and I'm not going to spoil anything because it's spoiler free until the spoiler section. But you know, so there is developments, and he's very kind and caring. And honestly, despite his flaws, he is likable. You do like him. I liked him. And sometimes the main character comes across as so flat that you don't care about him. Now, even though he did have some tropes that's shared by others, he was likable, and you liked him, you cared about him, you were really impressed by how nicely he treats everybody, even though he's incredibly dense, and he was likable. And you know, what else could you ask for? Now, moving on to our next main character, we have Yumina, one of the only characters' names I can say. And she is the blonde character, the blonde-haired main character. Let me open the little portrait here. I think, isn't she the one with two colored eyes? Yes. So Yumina is, of course, the blonde character. She has these little, I think they're barrettes or something in her hair, and she has two eyes of different colors, which, by the way, is a big thing for me. I think that's really, really cool. But regardless, she is one of the girls that is into him. You know, one of, what is that, 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, one of 5. One of 5 that's into him. And she is, I think she was the princess? Because there's two of them. And there's two girls, they look very similar. And they act very similar, too. So I'm trying to jog my memory. Okay, I think she was the princess. The other one was the... Yeah, I think the other one wasn't. So this girl, she is the princess of the particular kingdom that he goes to. Now, she is, you know... There's nothing overly stand out-ish about her. You know, she's royalty, so she's born into the whole politics of the nation thing. She's very used to all that. And there were several times when they were like meeting with other nations' leaders, and she was very like mature beyond her age. I assume it kind of comes from a upbringing of dealing with that type of thing. And so even though she's young, she was mature beyond her years in a lot of ways. She often felt like she was far older than she was. And so you know, it's just something that I feel like you should know and should be pointed out. Now, the other thing is actually she does have some amazing moments in the anime. Now, yeah, there are some amazing moments when a lot of the other characters are doing the very normal thing of not just saying what needs to be said, and they would have just waited for eternity and hoped he somehow noticed. And then if like there's like a crush brought up, they're super embarrassed by it. Yeah, they would have waited forever for that. Well, Yumina was the only one to just like, she was just charged out into the open and just say she just says what needs to be said, and it was such a breath of fresh air. So if nothing else, you are going to appreciate her for that moment. You'll know it when you see it. But she does have a few moments of just saying what needs to be said, and it was incredibly refreshing. So she was nice to have around. And otherwise, there was nothing else dislikable about her. And she was cool. I'm going to take a quick sip, and then we'll move on to the next one. So, moving on to the twins. The first one, oh man, their names are killing me. So it's Lindsay? So it's like Lindsay, but without spelling Lindsay, all right? It's probably not even how you're supposed to pronounce it. So she is the slightly younger of the two. She is the younger twin. Now, she has the short, I think it's blue. She has like the short bluish hair. Now, she has the short bluish hair, and she's the younger of the two twins. Now, in this world, there is magic. And as far as magic goes, and it's something I should have mentioned earlier, now, as far as magic goes, Toya he was gifted all the infinities for all the magic. That was part of the deal when he died. And so because of it, he's super, super strong, which is fun. Again, that's a trope, but I don't care. It's fun. Now, Yumina doesn't know magic, but Linza, she does. She knows magic, and she's pretty good at it. And she is also super sweet, super caring. Now she's on the shyer of the two twins. She is the shyer of the two, but she's super sweet. And she's not overly shy. She's not like scared to talk. She's just the shyer of the two. Now again, she's much like the rest of them. She's just likable. She's just nice, and she also has a moment when she just breaks through this boundary of not saying what needs to be said, and she just does what needs to be done. And you'll know it when you see it, but man, that was also pretty nice for her to be one of the two that broke the stalemate. So that was pretty cool. But anyway, there's lots of cool moments, and but yeah, so there was lots of cool moments, and she was super likable. Not too much to say. I don't know. They're likable, but it's hard to find a reason. If you just like someone, you like them. I don't know. Anyway, so moving on to our next character, the older of the two twins. I think it's like Elsa. It's like Elze. She's the older one. She looks of course, she looks just like her sister, but she is, I think she's slightly taller, possibly. She might be slightly taller, but she has long hair. Same hair color, similar outfit, longer hair. So that's her. Now, she is the much more outgoing of the two, and when her younger sister, whose name I'm going to avoid saying, is on the, of course, shyer side of things, the older sister, whose name I'm also going to try and avoid saying, is much more likely to just swing at anything and just knock everything around. And, she's not obnoxious, but she's very outgoing in some ways. But she kind of has the whole, there's a softer side underneath thing, and it's kind of cute when she gets confronted by it. You know the type. That's her. So she's very, very caring, very protective of her sister, which, as you would assume, considering her little sister is shy and she's not, then that makes sense. Now, on the magical side of things, she does know some magic. She's not gifted in the same way of magic as her little sister is. She knows like magic that helps her better in battle, and she knows how to fight, and she's cool. She's strong, she's powerful, she's not to be messed with, and she's awesome. So moving on to our next second to last main character, we have Lean, the other's name I can actually say, one of the only ones. So Lean, let me open her little portrait to help describe her. So she is honestly, I don't remember what the name of the personality type is in anime, but she is the person, she's the type that's very monotone on the surface, but there's a little bit going on, but there's stuff going on underneath. She just doesn't show very much emotion. That type, I forget the name. So she has a very similar hair color to the twins, but she is shorter. She looks very young. She's actually incredibly old. She's a fairy, fun fact. And she knows a lot of magic. She's very old, very wise, and she kind of has this interesting little, I don't know, like aura about her, that she's like more mischievous or troublesome, or I don't know. It feels like that, because maybe, and it was kind of nice because, of course, she was older. Because of her age and her elder status, she has this aura of being wise and powerful. And it's not like in like a sagely Yoda kind of way, but like in a, I am powerful, I'm still mischievous, and I get into trouble or whatever, but powerful, controlling, but fun, ultimately a good person, that type of thing. So it was kind of fun, and there was some things that were like, I don't know. She just throughout, there was a few little hints that she is more like, I don't know. She is not as young and innocent as she looks, and it was just kind of cool, because it was just, it's nice when anyone's personality looks more in depth than you would assume. It was nice. And otherwise, as far as her relationship with anyone else, she's pretty tight with everybody. Her and Toya are also tight, like Toya and every other girl. And but and kind of in their own special way too, because they're trying to find these artifacts, and it's part of the plot. Suffice it to say, they had a slightly different relationship than the other ones, but it was still fun. So moving on to the final main character. Oh man, her name is it's like Yae. It's Yae. So take that as you will. So she is the character in the kimono. I think it's how you pronounce that word. Anyway, so she has two swords. She's cool. She's very classic samurai, and she's cool. She has a bow. She has darker hair. She's really cute. So she was of course, our final main character. Now, in personality, she's much similar to the older of the twins, whose name I'm trying to avoid saying, and personality was similar to her, where she was kind of the tough and outgoing type, but she does not quite the same way as the older twin. They do feel different, and she also has this different background because, of course, this samurai girl whose name I'm trying to avoid saying, is she has, again, this background of being like a warrior and a samurai and raised by warriors, and so she kind of has this like more mature feel a little bit to her than the older twin does, because I kind of attributed it, that's a mouthful, to her background rather than anything else. But regardless, it was fun, and she still had lots of, cute qualities about her, despite the fact that she still kind of has a slightly mature side too. So, there was a lot going on there, and she's likable, just like every other character in the anime. She was likable, and so that was nice, because sometimes you have lots of great characters and like one super annoying one. There wasn't really any super annoying ones in this one, and that's awesome. And that's our character section pretty much. So moving on to favorite, most hated characters. It's hard to say. I didn't hate anybody. I'll start by saying that. I didn't have anyone that I hated. As far as who's likable, I don't know who I liked most. I don't know. I guess I guess that's the thing. I don't really have any favorites either, I guess, because really none of them stand out more than the other ones. There was things I liked about every one of them. There was things I liked about every one of them. I really liked Yumina because there's a few moments in the anime where she just says what needs to be said and breaks through this, like, let's just not talk about it type of thing. And it was really fun. Just to have her shatter this whole trope was really cool. So I liked her for that. But I wouldn't say she's like my favorite for it. That was a cool moment. They all had moments like that. I really liked the old dude that played God in this anime. He was fun. So I don't know. So I didn't really have any favorites either. So for better or for worse, I have no hates or favorites. They were all just kind of good in their own way. So moving on to animation and music, this is another. The music, not so much. I didn't really feel like the music was like, stand out so crazy. And you know what I mean? I don't really feel like the music stood out. Anything too special. The animation was really good, though. The animation was top-notch. It was very much felt like very modern, very good animation. It wasn't, like, jaw-dropping like in some other animes where, one of its biggest, like, selling points is its crazy animation. It wasn't one of those, but it was 100% up to modern par, and that was fun. And so, of course, with the rest of the plot and the rest of the, and the romance and all that stuff going on, the animation was on point, and that was fun. There were, like, fighting scenes and stuff in this anime, but it wasn't like, it wasn't the point of the anime, right? It wasn't a fighting anime, and so the fights were okay, but they were pretty just sort of meh, and and so the fights were okay. They didn't mean anything special, but they didn't bother you. They're just not out of the ordinary special. So, and with that, we are at our final rating and recommendation. So, I'm trying to think about what I want to do this, because there's a few things I want to mention as far as the final rating is concerned, but they're also kind of spoilers. So maybe we'll hold off, we'll give the rating, and then we'll figure it out. So, final rating and recommendation, I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 5. Very good. This anime made no mistakes worth noting, and is definitely worth a buy. So, as far as recommendation is concerned, we're not at the spoilers yet. Now, as far as recommendation is concerned, originally, I mentioned the reason I initially watched this anime was because I was looking for a harem anime with a harem ending, and not that whole ambiguous crap that you wish there was a solid finite answer to it that there's not. And it also wasn't, I chose one and broke the rest of their hearts either. So, now I'm going to tell you basically, I'm not going to spoil the ending. But suffice it to say, it was satisfactory. It was exactly what you wanted. So there was a harem ending, and I don't feel like that's a spoiler to tell you that, because that should be the standout reason to watch it, because it was one of like 2 anime I've ever seen that does have an actual harem ending in a harem anime, and it was a great change of scenery. So so that was super fun. And yeah, that's it. So if you're looking for a harem anime with a harem ending, well, do yourself a favor and watch it. And if you're open-minded enough to watch it for any other reason, go for it. It was well done. It was great. Yeah, and that's it. So, moving on to our, well, I don't know. There isn't really any spoilers in this one. There's nothing really I have to cover, and this next part isn't a spoiler, so it's not a spoiler, so don't be concerned. The only little faux pas I would mention that I feel I need to warn you so that it doesn't turn you off too early. So the first 2 episodes of this anime felt a little weird. So the first 2 episodes, it feels like that there is a really high amount of development for not in a very short amount of time. It feels like it's an onslaught of cuts and progression. Like suddenly he's just, he's dead. He has a body. He has it's just like an onslaught. He's in a world. He has a smartphone. He's powerful. He meets these girls. Like it's really rapid. So at first I was worried that the rest of the anime was going to be like that, and I was worried that was going to affect its score because it was kind of an onslaught and not overly enjoyable because it felt like you didn't have time to even process what happened, and it felt like that there was no natural progression. It was kind of an onslaught. So in hindsight, I kind of see why they did it, because I think that they did need to cover a lot of territory very quickly, and even if it wasn't as, I don't know, I think they did what they had to do, because none of the rest of the episodes felt like that to me. I think it was only the first 2, maybe the first 3, but I think it was only the first 2, and the rest of it was much more of a smooth, normal anime. So the first 2 felt a little brutal, but don't let that turn you off. It does fix itself, I think, after like episode 3 or something. So it does fix itself early, and then the rest of its pacing is totally fine. So that would be what I was going to warn you. I was kind of thinking that was a spoiler, but obviously it's not. And the whole actual harem ending thing felt a little bit like a spoiler too. But that's your number 1 reason for coming here, right? And so it doesn't feel like that much of a spoiler to me, because there would be no other initial draw to this anime unless you were kind of some sort of Isekai fanboy or something. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, and so it was well done, and so of course because the pacing thing fixed itself out and it was great and I had a good time, then that means 5 out of 5, man. So it's as simple as that, and that is this anime in a nutshell. So I have not totally decided on which anime I'm watching next. I am shopping at the moment. I'm looking around, I'm trying to figure out what I'm starting next, so we'll hopefully figure it out really soon, and then I can get to work on that one, and then we'll see whenever I'm done with that, whenever that review comes out, we'll see what happens. But if nothing else, tomorrow's upload should be normal, and that of course will be Monday, and we can get the train, rolling once again for the week, and I assume / hoping the rest of the uploads for the rest of the week will be normal, but at least tomorrow's, as far as I know, should be normal. So anyway, lots of good stuff there. Anyway, that is going to call for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the content today, and we will talk to you guys later.